Welcome to this presentation in which we're going to discuss apostrophes. In this presentation, we're not going to cover all of the circumstances in which you use apostrophes. We're going to focus, though, on two. One is when you use an apostrophe to create a contraction, and one in which you use an apostrophe to show possession. So let's go ahead and look at that. So I have some handy dandy tools here for using apostrophes. We're not going to necessarily spend a lot of class times on this. We're going to keep on going down near the bottom of our Canvas classroom where we start having our topics that have all of these dots in front of it. And we'll see that it's our second category underneath all the dots. What I'm going to use today is the decision tree apostrophe. But you can see we have lots of tools that can be very, very helpful. This is one that you're going to have to decide for yourself. Am I good at apostrophes? If so, you may not need to use any of these tools. If apostrophes are an area of opportunity, you may need to spend a significant amount of time. As always, I am glad to help folks with these topics, so please feel free to pop into my office hours and I'll be glad to be support for you. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone in and selected decision tree for apostrophes, and it is right here. And we're going to talk about how this works. I'm going to get focused a little bit more on the first choice. So you probably know how decision trees work, but what it is it involves you start with one box, and then you'll have to decide, do I go to this box or this box? And you'll continue to make decisions through this to see if you end up in the right box. So at the end, you'll end up in a box, maybe, for example, right here, where there's no place to go afterwards. And this tells you the final answer, whether you should use an apostrophe or not. So let's look at the first question. Is the word that comes before the S sound a noun or a pronoun? Okay, so let's pause for a second. I'm just going to go ahead and consider here. So we have a word, we'll say, this is the word apples. That's the way it sounds to our ears, apples. Now the question we're trying to decide is, should we write it like this with no apostrophes, or should we write it like this with an apostrophe S, or should we write it like this, S apostrophe? Obviously in English, the apostrophe doesn't make a sound. We can't hear it. It is a grammar structure. It helps us figure out, or helps the reader figure out, what the person meant when he or she said apples. Okay, so let's go through it. So we know that the word that we're dealing with has this S sound here. And so this is why we're using the decision tree. We hear that the word has an S sound, and we're trying to figure out, do we need to put an apostrophe before the S? Do we need to put it after the S, or do we need to just forego the apostrophe entirely? So that's our conundrum here. So is the word that comes before the S sound a noun or pronoun? If you don't know your parts of speech, what you can do here is you can go to Google. I prefer Google to Yahoo, so I'm going to switch here. And I'm just going to type in apple, part of speech. I think most of us know that apple is a noun, it's a thing, but some of us might not. And if we don't, we can see that we're learning right here, apple is a noun. So for the example that we're working with, we know it is a noun. So it's not a noun or pronoun, it's just a noun. And we know it's a noun because it refers to a thing. So we are rejecting the no choice. We're going to go to the yes choice. So our next question is it a noun? Yes, we know it's a noun. We Googled it and we found out it's a noun. So we're not going to go towards the no. We're going to go towards the yes. Okay. In its context, and was in the way that the word apples appears in the sentence, does the word mean more than one? In other words, should it be plural? Okay, well, now we're going to add a little bit more granularity. Let's say that our sentence was, the apple's red color. Actually, let's do it. Let's say the apples cores. Okay, let's say this is the sentence. Were brown with age. Okay, the apples cores were brown with age. So we're trying to figure out in this context, in the sentence that we're dealing with, does the word apples mean more than one? Now, if I'm the writer, since I'm telling a story of some type, I have in my mind, I, the writer, whether we're talking about one apple or 2 apples or 10 apples or 100 apples. If I'm editing someone else's work, I have to look for context clues. And one of the context clues I see is the word cores. Now, being an apple eater, I know that each apple has exactly 1 core. So if we're talking about more than 1 core, we must have more than 1 apple. So I know that this word is plural. So I'm going to put at the end of this, apples is plural. Well, let me rewrite the sentence. The apple's core was brown with age. Well, here, again, if I were the story writer, I would know how many apples I'm talking about. But in this context, the same rule applies. There's only 1 core. And so therefore, we can only have 1 apple. So apples is singular. We're going to first of all analyze with this first scenario. So I'm going to put just a 1 out here, and then we're going to do 2. So let's continue on with our example number 1. Take it to the conclusion. In its context, does the word mean more than 1? Yes, it does. It should be plural. So I'm going to go to yes. Look for the next word to the right of the word. Okay. Move the word that you are evaluating to the left of the word and add the word of between the 2 words. Okay, this is a little bit of a complex instruction. So we're looking for the next noun to the right of the word. Okay, and again, if we're not sure about the word's origins or what part of speech it is, we might need to Google it. So right is this way. This is my target word. I'm going to go to the right until I find a noun. Well, the very next word is a noun, the word cores. Now, I know what part of speech cores are, but I'm just going to Google it because let's just say that I'm not sure. So core, I guess I could have put cores there. Let's just see what happens when I do cores. Core, and we're seeing the part of speech. Okay, well, it can be a noun or a verb. So we have to look for a context. Remove the tough center part and seeds from a fruit. Or are we referring to the tough central part of various fruits containing the seeds? So are we talking about the action or are we talking about the part? The apple's cores were brown with age. It seems to me we're actually talking about the structure here. And so it seems like cores is a noun. So let's go back to our decision tree. So we found the word to the, we now know that we found the word, the next noun to the right of the word. We're going to move the word that we are evaluating, in other words, apples, to the left of the word and add the word of between the 2 words. Okay, a little bit of a confusing story. But what we're going to do is we're going to move this word to be after cores. So we're going to say the cores, apples were brown with age. And now between these 2 words that we flip-flopped, we're going to add the word of. The cores of apples were brown with age. As everyone said, I know the instructions are confusing, but this is all we're doing. We're flip-flopping these 2 words and then we're sticking of in the middle. Okay. So we've done those steps. And again, I have an example here. Bob's green ball becomes green ball of Bob because ball is our next noun to the right of this expression. Okay. Does this edit make sense within the context of the sentence? So that change we made, does it result in something that sounds like English? The cores of apples were brown with age. Yes. This new sentence makes sense. Okay. So our answer here is yes. This is yes. So we're going to go to our yes box. So we have an answer. The noun is possessive. Okay. And will need an apostrophe. But what we do not yet know is where to put it. So going back to our list here, we can rule out this option for sentence 1. So I'm going to just cross it out. What we don't know is whether it's going to be this choice B or choice C. And we're about going to make that decision. So this is the question we ask. Is this noun made plural by the addition of S or ES? So how do we make the word apple plural? Well, we add an S, so it's plural. I'm just going to say, and is made plural by adding S, right? So this is true. It's made plural by adding S. So the yes is our correct answer. So the apostrophe goes after the S. So the correct choice is going to be this one. So I'm going to go back to my first sentence. I'm going to put the apostrophe here. Obviously, these are just my notes. Actually, all the notes go down here. Okay, so that's how we did it. We found the answer by snaking through these questions. I'm going to get rid of the red so we don't accidentally make a mistake with thinking that we've already made a decision about something. Okay, so now we're going to do our second sentence. The apple's core was browned with age. We know this word apples is singular because you have one core. It means you have to have exactly one apple. So let's go back to our chart here. Is the word, well, we know that this part still remains the same. Yes, apples is a noun. It's a, oh, wait a second, I'm going to do that in red. It is a thing, remains a thing. I'm going to mark that as a thing. So we're going to go up to yes. And we can even say it's a noun, right? It's not a pronoun. Again, Google would have told us if it was. In its context, does the word mean more than one? Well, no, we've decided in this context, apples is singular. So we're going to go a different path this time than we did with our first sentence. We're going to go down here. So since the word is singular, add the apostrophe before the S. Follow this rule even if you add a syllable after the singular noun. For example, happinesses, let's look at this word. So this word, the word happiness, has 3 syllables. Let me just write this down here so we can play around with this word a little bit. Happiness. That's if I could spell it, that would be happiness. So we have hap, first syllable, he, second syllable, ness, third syllable. But if referring to happinesses, joy, that kind of dumb, but anyway, that's what we're going to stick with. By adding the apostrophe S, we've actually added a 4th syllable. Let me show you. Hap is our first syllable, 1. P is our second syllable, 2. Ness is our third syllable, 3. Happiness is. So this actually becomes a 4th syllable. So sometimes the addition of apostrophe S will result in a 4th syllable. Now, in this case, if this is the right choice, that doesn't happen. Let's just play around with apples core. Apples core. And let's assume this is the right answer here. Well, let's first of all play around with the word apple. Apple is 2 syllables. Apple. When we say apples, we still have 2 syllables. Apples. We just add the s sound at the end of the syllable. So sometimes when you're dealing with apostrophe S, it's going to sound like it's a new syllable. We are adding a new syllable. And sometimes it's just going to be an S sound on the last syllable. Either way is okay. Okay, so we know it's a noun. We know that this particular word apples is singular. And so we're going to go down here to know. So since the word is singular, add the apostrophe before the S. So going back to our sentence, we're going to put the apostrophe right here. The apple's core was brown with age. Apples is singular. And this is just commentary here. We know that we're done because there's no box after this one. Okay, so now we're going to do another one. It's sad when it rains on game day. Okay, this is our sentence. What we're not sure about is whether the it's here should be it's or it's. We're trying to decide about an apostrophe. Okay, so we're going to do the analysis that we've done before. I'm going to put it in italics so we'll keep track of what we're doing. So again, we're going to start the decision tree at the beginning. Is the word that comes before this sound a noun or pronoun? Okay, so this is the it's word that we're looking at. So let's say I'm not sure about it's. Okay, so I'm just going to type in it's. It's part of speech. It's is a pronoun. Okay, so we know that it is, I'm going to get rid of some of these choices so we don't get confused as we go forward. So it is a noun or pronoun. I'm going to highlight, pronoun. That should be noun. Oops, 1 second. Let's go back. I lost my, there we go. Pronoun here. Is it a noun? Well, if it's a pronoun, it's not a noun. So we're going to go down here. Our answer is going to be no. Therefore, the word must be a noun. Okay. Is the word his, hers, theirs, us, or ours? Or does it end with one of the suffix selves? Well, our word is its. Its isn't the word his, isn't the word hers, or theirs, or us, or ours, and it doesn't have a suffix. So we're going to go down here to the no section. Remove the S sound and say the remaining word, and the word is. For example, he's tall makes sense as he is tall. So let's go back here. So we're going to remove the, we're going to rewrite the sentence, and we're going to it rains on game day. Okay, so I'm going to remove the S, and I'm going to write the word is. Let's check that out. I was supposed to remove the S sound and say the remaining word, and the word is. So let's read it now and see if it makes sense. It is sad when it rains on game day. I'm just going to say this sentence makes sense. Okay. So we're going to go to yes. The word is a contraction. Use the apostrophe before the S as in it's or he's. Okay, so we know what the correct answer is. This one is our correct answer. We're going to go back and put the apostrophe right there. It's sad when it rains on game day. Put this in parentheses because these were just our sentences to help us find the right answer. We're going to do another sentence now. The apples were ripe. Okay, so again, here we have the same choices we had before. Let me just list them. Apples, apples, apples. And we're going to do that same analysis. So let's start with our choices. It is the word that comes before the s sound a noun or pronoun. Well, we already know this. We know that apples is a noun. So we're going to go up to yes. And we know that apples is a noun, not a pronoun. So we're going to continue to go up. In this context, does the word mean more than one? Well, let's just see what we know about this. The apples were ripe. Well, I'm the writer of this sentence and I knew what I meant. I meant more than one. But if I'm editing someone else's work, another clue as to what I meant, what the writer meant, was the word were. Were is a plural verb, so it has to have a plural subject. So in this sentence, apples is plural. If I had meant one apple or the apple, I would have said the apple was ripe. Okay, so I'm pretty clear that this is a plural situation. So I'm going to keep on going up here. So look for the next word to the right, next noun to the right of our word, in this case, apples. So let's go look and see. The apples were ripe. Well, we only have two choices here. Were is a verb and ripe is an adjective. There is no noun to the right. Okay, since we can't follow these instructions, we're going to go with no here. The noun is plural but not possessive. Do not use an apostrophe. So our correct choice is just the word apples. The apples were ripe. So this sentence as written is awesome. We don't need an apostrophe. Sometimes people think, well, it's still okay to use an apostrophe in that situation. No, pretty much with apostrophes, there's only one way to do it. Either have to put the apostrophe there or you should not put the apostrophe there. I can't think of any cases. Okay, there are a couple cases, but they're very rare and they're not anything we're going to cover in this course. But the vast majority of times, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And there's no kind of in between. Well, I can go either way with it, okay? Now we're going to do so now we have this sentence. The doll sat on its spot on the shelf. So we have its is the one we're evaluating. Okay, and here are our two choices. I'm going to highlight it so we don't forget what we're working on. And let's evaluate this sentence. So we're going to start at the beginning. Is the word that comes before the s sound a noun or pronoun? Well, we've already checked its, and so we do know it's a pronoun in this condition. It refers to a thing, in this case, the doll. So we're going to go up to yes, because it is a noun or pronoun. But once we get up here, now we're going to go down to no, because it's not a noun, it's a pronoun. So now we're going to say, is it his, hers, theirs, us, ours, or ourselves? Nope, it's the word its, so it doesn't fall into these categories. So we're going to go down to no again. So we're going to remove the S sound and add the word is. Let's see what happens to our sentence. The doll sat on it is spot on the shelf. The doll sat on it is spot on the shelf. Does that sentence make sense? This sentence does not make sense. Okay. So does this sentence make sense? No. So the apostrophe, let me see, the pronoun does not have an apostrophe. It must be the possessive pronoun its. Yes, I have a word for that. I say is not an apostrophe, I mean should not have an apostrophe. So when its is acting as a possessive pronoun, we don't add anything. So this one is wrong. This is probably the single most common error. When it is being used as a possessive pronoun, we don't put the apostrophe in here. Let me do one more just for kicks. Actually, we're going to do two words here. We have the word runs. And so what we're trying to decide is, should it be runs, runs, or runs? Okay. And then we're going to evaluate marathons. So this is the first word we're evaluating. We're going to start at the beginning. Is the word that comes before the noun, the s sound, a noun or pronoun? Well, run can be a noun or a pronoun. For example, I run to the grocery store. That's a verb. The activity I'm doing is running, even though I'm probably not literally running. That's an idiomatic expression we have to mean I'm making a quick trip to the grocery store. But we can also say I went on a 4-mile run. Well, that's a noun in that situation. So you can't just Google the word run and know for sure what it is. Let's just see. I'm going to put the word run. I'll actually put runs part of speech and we'll see what we get. Well, they're calling it a verb, but we know that it also can be, let's just do it without the apostrophe. We also know it can be a noun. Let's see if we're going to use this. Yeah, here you can see they have it as a noun. They're saying the more common use is verb, but they do list it as a noun. So there are times in English, and there's lots of times in English actually, to be honest, where a word that, can be more than one part of speech. So we have to evaluate it in the sentence. The man runs a lot of marathons. Well, we know that this structure tells us that runs is doing the action. Another way we can tell is that our subject here is the word man, which is a noun. There's just one of them. We know there's just one because if there was more than one, we would say men, M-E-N. And so you would expect when you have a singular subject that your verb would have an S at the end of it. We don't say the man run, the dog run. We say the man runs, the dog runs. Now all of us who are native English speakers, we know this without even thinking about it. It's automatic, but it's kind of weird if you stop and think about it, because when we're dealing with nouns, we add an S to make it plural. So if we have one dress, we say dress. But if we have two dresses, we say dresses, right? If we have one book, it's book. When we have two book, it's books. So we usually add an S or an ES to make a word plural. But when we're thinking about verbs instead of nouns, the plural form is a form without the S. We add the S to the verb to make it singular. Isn't that crazy? We add S to nouns to make them plural. We add S to verbs to make them singular. Let me show you what I mean. The man eats. Just one man, he eats. We have an S sound right here. The men eat. So when there's more than one person doing it, there's lots of forks moving around here in this story, we don't add the S. When it's just one fork flying, we add the S. So it's kind of a weird thing going on in English where we add the S to nouns to make them plural. We take away the S from a verb to make it plural. Okay, but in our case, we know that this is going to be a verb. And so we're going to go back to our flow chart and see. So we know if it's a verb, it's neither a noun or a pronoun. It's not referring to a person, place, thing, or idea. So we go to know. Well, this was easy. we know there is not going to be any apostrophe. These two choices are not correct. Okay. So now we're going to evaluate not runs, but the word marathons. Okay, so we are going to Google marathons, part of speech. And if for some reason it doesn't pop up, just remove the S from it and see if it then looks up here. Now we can see it's a noun. Okay, so that's good. We know it's a noun, so we know the answer to this question is yes. So we go up here. And the answer to this question is a yes, because it is a noun. So we go up even higher. In this context, does the word mean more than one? Well, let's go back to our sentence and check. The man runs in lots of marathons. Well, lots of in English is a signal that it's more than one. We could change this and make it many marathons too. That's a way of saying plural. We're talking about more than one, and whatever's coming next, you know, whatever comes next is going to be plural. So let's go back to our sentence, and yes, it is. It's definitely plural. So now we're going to go from this box up here to our yes box. Look for the next noun to the right of the word. Okay, well, let's look back at our sentence because this looks like it's going to be pretty easy. It's the last word in the sentence. There's no words to the right. So we know we can't do what we're being asked to do in this box. So we're going to go to no. So the noun is plural but not possessive. Do not add an apostrophe. Okay, so we're perfect to go with marathon. So this sentence doesn't have any marathons in it. Let's see if there are any other scenarios that we need to cover. Okay, we're going to do one more and then we'll call it good. The children's toys were in the box. Okay, so what we're going to try to evaluate is children's. And we're then secondly going to evaluate toys once we're done. Oops, let me go to the next page. So we know that it could be this, this, or this. Let's see which one works. Okay, so children, that's a noun. You know, we could Google it, but I'm just going to say we know it's a noun because it's referring to a person, or in this case, more than one person. And so we're going to go up to yes, and it is a noun. Again, we could type that in. Let's just do it just so we can be complete. So children's. Children is a noun. Okay, good to know. So we're going to keep on going up here. In this context, does the word mean more than one? Sure does. Children means more than one because of child if there's just one, children if it's more than one. So we're going to keep on going to yes. So we're going to look at the next word to the right of the noun. Okay, we're going to do that flip-flop and add the to it. So our next noun is the word toys. So we're going to rewrite the sentence. The toys, children's. So we're just reversing those two words because toys is our next noun. Again, if you're not sure if that's a noun, you could Google it. And we're going to add the word of between. The toys of children's. You might need to add the word the toys of the children's were in the box. Okay. Does this edit make sense? So it does and it doesn't. If you're thinking it doesn't quite make sense, I don't blame you because we don't say the toys of the children's. We would say the toys of the children, right? That's the way we would say it in English. But the overall concept makes sense. Let's just say, if we remove the S from children's, the sentence makes sense. Okay, so we're going to say that yes, we're in this situation. Because the meaning is okay, we just have to remove that S. So we now know that the noun is possessive and will need an apostrophe, but we don't know where to put the apostrophe. So we can rule out this scenario. Draw a line through that. Okay, so now we're going to say, is the noun made plural by the addition of S or ES? Well, no. When you start with the word, our base word is the word child. So in order to make it plural, we add REN, right? Which is neither an S or an ES. So we're going to have to say no to that question. Nope. So we're going to go way down here. This noun becomes, sorry about that typo, becomes plural in an irregular way. Add the apostrophe before the S. Okay, so we now know that this one is also incorrect. And so we're going to say the children's toys. Okay, and now we're going to evaluate toys and we'll call it good at that point. Okay, so we're going to test toys to see. And of course, our words, our choices would be toys, toys, or toys. Okay. So we're going to highlight this. It's in brackets. Okay, so let's start our analysis. Again, we're going to start in this box. Is it a noun or pronoun? Toys is a noun. So we're going to go up here to yes. Is it a noun? It sure is. It's not a pronoun. We're going to keep on going to yes. In this context, does the word mean more than one? Let's evaluate this sentence to see if we mean just a single toy or lots of toys. Okay, well, we know that the children's toys were in the box. So we know were is a verb we use to refer to plural ideas. We would say toys were, a toy was. So we know that if toys is the subject of our sentence, in other words, it's the one that matches the verb, that it's got to be toys. It's got to be, we have a plural meaning there. And we do know that children's, because it's now possessive, we know that this is really just explaining about toys. Who has these toys? Whose toys are these? Oh, they're the children's. Okay, so toys is our subject, and we know that because our verb is plural, that toys has to be plural. So we know that toys is plural. So let me just add that. Toys is plural. So look at the verb. That can give you lots of hints. And of course, if you're writing the sentence, you'll know what you meant because you were the one who composed it. Okay, so we're in this box and we say, yes, it sure is plural. So we go up to our top box. Look for the next noun to the right of the word. Okay, so we're looking to the right. The children's toys were in the box. So this is a verb. This is a preposition. This is a noun marker, sometimes called an adjective. So this is a box. The word box, though, is clearly a noun. So now we're going to have to reverse that. We're going to have to flip it. This isn't even going to work, though. I can already tell you. Children's were in the box of toys. Huh? I guess we could do it this way. But what's our subject? That doesn't make any sense. Let's try doing it this way. The box of the children's toys were in the box. Gosh, that doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't look like we can do this. however we flip around words, we're not going to end up with something that makes any sense. So we've got to go to know. The noun, in this case, toys, is plural but not possessive. So we shouldn't add an apostrophe. So our right choice here is the first one, the one without an apostrophe. So I hope that this has made sense. Many of y'all will be sitting here thinking, oh, this was very obvious to me, which is awesome. Wonderful. Congratulations. This is one of those skills that you already have well in your skill set. That's tremendous. You may be somebody who needs to do more practice with this. That doesn't mean you're not every bit as brilliant as the people who know this automatically. It just means you come to this class with a different skill set. I promise you there'll be something we do later on in the semester, and that other person who got this one from the very beginning is struggling with that concept, and you'll be sitting back there thinking, oh, this is super easy. So everybody has their strengths and weaknesses in this area. If this is one that isn't clicking for you, please come to my office hours. Please do some of the examples. Watch this video one more time to see if it can click with you and make more sense to you. I hope that this video has been helpful. Thank you for your attention and have a wonderful day.